In this video clip, I'll show you an example of how can we write the program using the dictionary. For example, if you want to count the data in a list, we can use it in using the way that I show you in the video clips of the list. For example, if we have the data in a list that is randomly generated from the random function. Uh, for example, we use the random dot random, and then times. For example, if I want to create the data that range from 0 to 9, I will use the random dot random times 10 for I in range 10, 20. It will create 20 elements that the values is randomly generated that range from 0 to 9. Look at the result. This one is the data that I generated from this random statement here, and I'll keep it in a variable data. If you use the list, if you use the list, it will be like if you want to count all elements in this variable, you can use for example, you know in advance that the data range from 0 to 9, and you decided to create a, a variable counts to store the numbers of all elements of each elements. So I will start from 0 with 10 data that range from 0 to 9, right? So this one, we will have 10 0, right? This one, is for number 0. This one is for number 1. This one is for number 2, number 3, and to number 9. So I use for d in data. For d in data, counts d plus 1. Okay, so for each data, for each d in the data, I use d as the index and counts it. Okay, so what you can see in this case is I'll print the data to show you what is the data inside. Okay, so in this case, if I use if I use the list to store the number of each elements in the dictionary, you can see that 0, we have 1 0 here, we have 1 of 1, and we have 1 of 2, and we have 2 of 3s, 1 and 2. Can you see? And we have 2 of 4, this one, 1 and 2, and we have 4 of 5. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the result of the data that you can use the list to store the number of each element in the list. You can write the program like this, but I will use the dictionary instead of the list, and we can like make the program more general. In this case, I use count dict as a dictionary. This is the way that you can initiate the empty dictionary using this variable dict. And then for the in data, if d in count dict, if it's already created or if it's already exist in the count dict, it means that we already had these values, we already found these values. Okay, So we can use count dict, use D as the key, and then +1. If we cannot find this data in the count dict, it means that we didn't add these values to your dictionary yet. So we will start these values by 1 because this is the first data that we can find. So finally, we can print the result. So you can see this one is more like understandable. Like we can find 5. We can find 5 of 8s, 4 of 5, 1 of 9, 1 of 6, 2 of 4. Can you see? Same as the one of the list, but in this case, you can see that, okay, if I want to get the number of 8, you can use 8 as the key, and you will get the values 5. That is the number of 8s in this data, and you can use this one for any kinds of data. For example, if your data is like a sentence, like this is a sample sentence, and I will use a dictionary to count all occurrence of members in this dictionary. Okay, so this one is the data, and I will split this one, dot split. Okay, so this is the data. So you can see that we will have a list of words, right? Okay, we have some punctuation here, but in this case, it's like we didn't process it. We just throw it into our function. So this is the data. You can provide it. You can make it like, for example, if you want to store it like to change it to lowercase, for the in data, use d dot lower, and you see that every words will be changed to lowercase, so you can store it in data here. So this is the result. So this is a list of words that all of them are lowercases. Okay, so I will provide this data into our function, and you will see that this is the number of occurrences of each word. So it's quite easy, right, for the dictionary. So it's more general because the key can be any, can be a number, can be the like the word, the string. Okay, so it's like easier and more general than using a list. Okay, so this is the first example of using a dictionary in Python.